Aristotle said that people are social animals, and he might have added that they're also prosocial animals who often act to benefit others. Understanding when and why we help others has been a question of great interest to social psychologists. Surprisingly, what started this line of research was a terribly unfortunate event that made us ask, why don't people help? A young woman, Kitty Genovese, was murdered early one morning by a knife-wielding assailant. Reports at the time indicated that at least 38 people heard her screams but did not help. Two social psychologists, Bibb Latané and John Darley, suggested two features of the situation were responsible for the lack of help. First, the ambiguity of the situation made it difficult for the witnesses to know what exactly was going on. Was it just a lover's squabble? Was there a need for intervention? Latané and Darley found that people rely heavily on the actions of others to define situations and to decide what actions should be taken. The lack of help for Kitty may have been a case of pluralistic ignorance. Each person relied on what others were or were not doing to decide what he or she should do, and the fact that no one else was getting involved was taken as evidence that nothing needed to be done. My sister once saw a woman's body in a neighbour's yard. No sooner did she get to the victim than the neighbour came rushing out saying, "Is she okay? She's been lying there for about an hour." Until my sister's actions defined the situation as one needing some help, the neighbour, like Kitty Genovese's neighbours, was not sure what was going on and therefore did nothing. A second, related process might also inhibit people from getting involved in emergency situations. When in a group, people may assume that someone else will provide the necessary help, but a person alone may feel that he or she is the one who is personally responsible for giving help. Being in a group may lead to the diffusion of responsibility and allow those viewing the incident to excuse themselves from getting involved. The presence of other people and the possibility of the resulting pluralistic ignorance and diffusion of responsibility give us some idea of when help might and might not be expected. Contrary to what common sense might tell us, the chances of a person in need receiving help decreases as the number of people in the situation increases. This is sometimes referred to as the bystander effect. Are some people more likely to help than others? For instance, who gives more help, men or women? This is a rather tricky question. In general, men and women are equally helpful, but because men and women have been socialized differently, they typically give different kinds of help. Women tend to be more nurturing, caring, and supportive with the help they give, often responding to another's emotional distress by offering comfort and social support. Men, on the other hand, tend to help by taking action and a willingness to take physical risk, often with little regard for the danger to which they are exposing themselves. Because rushing into flaming buildings or jumping into raging rivers are highly visible forms of helping that attract extensive media attention, many people have assumed that men were more helpful than women. Some pointed to the list of Carnegie Hero Medal winners that showed a disproportionate number of male recipients. But research by Selwyn Becker and Alice Eagley showed that if heroism is defined a bit more broadly to include such heroic acts as living kidney donations, volunteering for overseas duty in the Peace Corps, and participating in the Doctors of the World programme, then men and women show very similar rates of helping in ways that involve very serious physical risk. One personal characteristic that does seem to distinguish helpers from non-helpers is the degree to which a person empathizes with the distress of others. That is, those who vicariously experience the negative emotions felt by someone in need and who can put themselves in the shoes of a victim are more likely to give assistance to the victim than those who remain more emotionally detached and unmoved by someone else's problems. The role of empathy and the concern we feel for others in need raise another interesting issue related to helping. Why do people help? To a large extent, the reason we help, perhaps surprisingly, comes down to the question, what's in it for me? Seeing a person in distress may empathically arouse negative feelings, and one way that a potential helper might eliminate those negative feelings is by helping the victim escape the distressing situation. Potential helpers may also feel that they have to help to avoid feeling guilty if they did not help. Interviews with those who have rushed into burning buildings to rescue someone trapped inside often report, "I couldn't have lived with myself if I hadn't tried to save that person." In both cases, the good news is that the person in need receives the help necessary. But the primary reason why the helpers offered assistance in the first place was due to their own self-serving reasons. Helping for egoistic reasons may account for the vast majority of prosocial acts, but the question of whether there are ever purely selfless acts of altruism remains. The answer may lie in the definition one chooses for altruism. Some psychologists see helping and altruism as being synonyms, especially those who discount the possibility of purely selfless acts. Others think of altruism not on the basis of the act itself, but rather in terms of the helper's underlying motivations for the act. According to Dan Batson, empathic concern for victim elicits an altruistic motivation to help. For these researchers, if a helper's primary goal is to benefit another, then it is an act of altruism. As we can see, what our intuition might tell us about helping is not always correct. If we can better understand the circumstances that promote helping, the characteristics of people who are most likely to aid others, and the motivations of those who help, perhaps ways can be found to increase the frequency of prosocial behaviour in our society.